Good morning, traders out there. How we doing? Good morning to you guys. And I don't know why it will not let me remove this Michael Noss. I guess I'll just spotlight myself. All right. Well, how we doing? Good morning. How we doing? Welcome to it. It's another great show here. We're going to take a look today at taking a look at kind of new strategies. I think it's time to start really digging deep as the day trade account has been a little back and forth as of late. And to tell you the truth, I've been doing better in the small caps than the large caps. That's just interesting, right? But in a time that we're seeing the IWM start to go a little bit higher, XBI go higher, maybe that's just the move. Right? Well, we'll be talking a little bit more about that during the show. We'll also talk, of course, all about Google and what happened there with the antitrust situation. The DOJ not really doing their job, but we won't get into that conversation. But yeah, it looks like the DOJ came in here and gave Google the pat on the back, and that's going to help Apple, Google, and others go higher. So this morning we are going higher. The only question is, can we hang in here, right? We were all pretty kind of slippage on yesterday. This rode all the way back. It's been a nice ride back, about 1.2%. Now we're starting to slip a little bit. We'll take a look at the market. We'll take a look to see what's going on out there. We can take a look here. As you guys can see, the SPY starting to pull back a little bit. We'll see what happens here. How far are we going to leak? And of course, I still have my swing trade on in China, but not as happy as I should be, guys. I was up like close to 300 yesterday, right at that 39.28, and then this morning gap down again. This is the China thing that you have to deal with. You have to be kind of patient. So I'm still looking for the BRIP. I did get the gap close yesterday, and maybe I was being greedy by not taking the profits, and I could have reloaded today. But we'll see what happens here in FXI and China trade. But take a look there at Apple. Apple looking like it wants higher, like it wants 240. Who was here when the stock was down here in the 210s, talking about how Apple wanted to go for a new high? 250 is what I really was calling out there really quickly. And look where we're at. We're almost there already, guys. Climbing the 9 EMA. You guys know how I love this light blue line. Look how we're holding it really well. Now starting to attempt to break towards, of course, yesterday's high, 239.50. We'll talk a little bit more about these news on the Sunrise Report. We can get towards, of course, the playbook action. Take a look at what stocks and ideas are up my sleeve today. We'll be looking around in the market, and I'm back and forth and might take a big hit there on IPDN, guys. This one's a little bit of a frustrating one. I was up a pretty good amount there, but I've had to come back and forth in the desk right now, dealing with some health situations. So was able to didn't kind of miss a sell situation, right? This had popped there to 9 multiple times there, looking to try to ride this up through the $9 spot, but it definitely could have sold here at the 908s just recently. So we'll see what happens if this can pop back up into that spot right now in the red on that one, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. Let's get to the trade ideas. We can take a look today to see Apple to the upside. That's one that I'll be watching to see if we can just recover the after hours high, right? You can see how we're kind of trading in kind of a cup and handle pattern right now. And so I'd be waiting to see if this could just rip right back through the 240s. It could go right at the gates, right, with the market kind of struggling here. Leaves room for a quick little run up. We'll see what happens here in Apple. Another one that I'll be watching, of course, is taking a look to see what happens with, of course, AMD. And it wouldn't be that bad at all, guys. I think this is one that definitely keep your eyes on to see if it goes ahead and makes the next move higher. Of course, it's pulled back as of late. We've had a nice little pullback. I talked about it when we were getting these pullbacks. Would we get moves to the 50 EMA? Well, guess what we hit yesterday? The 50 EMA. So now we have kind of a hard bottoming line, right? This is where the support is really holding up. And now we need to see if we're going to make a move back towards 170 and really what I call a trend line approach, right? We drew this box a while back, man. It's incredible that it got to this box. We created it on June 25th, updated it on the 4th, but man, it made a huge move up into that spot, AMD. Now we're back to the 50. We're going to look for an attempted red to green action today and for it to start pushing back towards 170. We all know how stocks like to squat before they go. So watch out today. Look for maybe opening action on the red side of things on AMD, and then some real buying to step in there. You can look at it for on the tape. We'll see what happens with this. If it can start to grind right back up above the 165 and push back towards 170. Not a bad name to look at today. AMD. We'll see what happens. Of course, this also affected NVIDIA. NVIDIA actually got hit down on this, so we'll look to see if NVIDIA can bounce today. That's one name that I'm not expecting a huge bounce back, but at least green on the screen would be nice to see. All right, we'll take a look around at the market out there. We'll take a look at different names that are trading, guys. We can also take a look at different stocks. I'm going to go and try to rinse and repeat in a name that's given me lots of gains as of late, which is this FLNC. And a lot of times what do stocks like to do? Well, they like to squat before they pop. That kind of mentality is what we're looking for here. So I'm going to delete this green line because there's some lines here that don't really matter anymore, right? And you got to look at the levels, right? Are we going to go back and fill this gap? I think we can go fill this gap. How are we going to do that? Well, we got to first break a trend line approach, right? And then we're going to look for the breakout, right? Well, right here, you can see how we kind of been bottoming, and then we just put in a hard bottom right around this 680s, right? So at this point, I'm looking for the stock to recover 7 and start making its way to 8, then 9, then 10 and 11, right? That's the way it works, right? We'll see what happens there. If it can get going today, this stock loves to do red to green moves, so that's what I'll be watching for. Kind of like you got here on the chart, right? You can see it right now. You got a quick dip on that Thursday, it went to 726 and then a grind up the whole rest of the day. I want to look for the same action. Come like you want to break the 680s, like you want to break 675, get me back above 7s, and then I'm ready to go swinging in FLNC. Of course, this one's in the Bloom energy space, so maybe you look to see if Bloom can hold on here. This has just been an absolute monster ride in Bloom. Of course, this one could reload back towards 44.60s. We'll see if it's able to hold on, or does it just continue to climb high and fly higher? We'll see what happens on this name, of course, Bloom Energy, guys. Let's keep it going. You guys know where you're at. It's, of course, Trade the Pool. Let's take a look at what's going on in the market out there. We can go to some of these smaller names. I'm going to scroll through in the chat. Let me know what's on your radar today. Which ones are you guys trading? Ooh, Oracle mentioned in the chat. We could take a look at that Oracle chart. How we doing, Vic? It's good to see you out there. Let's go back to Oracle and take a look here. But definitely good to see you out there, Vic. Let's take a look here. Oracle. Well, there's one thing that we do see on the screen, right? Which is the 50 EMA pullback, right? Bullish news, right? Let's go ahead. Let's bullish move. Let's take a look. We'll see what happens if this has news. I didn't see news out there, but I can take a peek right quick. Let me take a little peek to see if there's any news related action to this. All right, I use Benzinga Pro for news. Shout out to Benzinga. Let's take a look here. All right, Oracle. See if there's anything new that we can talk about. All right, Oracle right now. Looks like Oracle sets the date for its first quarter fiscal earnings announcement. Microsoft offers $6 billion in cloud office savings to U.S. agency. Mark Cuban asked if AI kills jobs, why no office occupancies decline. That's nothing important. Really not much out there on Oracle right now. Kind of a dull news report, right? So I think we look at just the recent move, right? The recent move, we could say, came off of this kind of earnings report right here, and that's really where we kind of shot off of, right? Well, let's do a fib retracement to the top level there and see how this is working out. Well, we're holding right now in the 50% retracement level. So I would be looking to see that 50% retracement holds and that you could attempt back down to the 220s today. So I'm actually looking for this to go tempting down the 220s before it goes back through the 230s. So of course, back through to 230s, you can maybe risk off of the levels right now, off like kind of the 225 levels. But I'd really like to see this start to clear back to 30s, but after one more attempt to break down. Because then we get that 1, 2, 3 type of look. And then as it comes back, what are you getting also is that third resistance test And then from there, we could actually start to climb back to the upside. So I like Oracle. I just think it needs to specifically here get hot and show you a little bit of a move versus you kind of read it, right? And you guys can see here, I've actually overlapped my RSI and my MACD. This is something that I'm trying out. And part of that is to look to see how the relative strength is doing with the MACD. Because sometimes in here, like it is right now, the RSI is starting to turn early versus the MACD turn early, right? So I want to see, does that kind of lead the action, right? You can see here how the RSI started to lead up and then dip right before, and then finally when the MACD cross with the RSI going higher, that's when I really want to kind of jump on trades, right? So right now, the MACD is telling me, hold on, wait. Look for the break and look for the RSI to go higher. That's one way that we can take the approach and maybe use some indicators to help if we want to get after this name. All right, that's Oracle. If you guys have some other names, you guys can definitely mention them in the chat. We'll keep it going. We're going to go now towards the Sunrise report, where we, of course, give you guys the stocks that are moving in the market and what's moving out there. What's shaking the markets today? Well, let's get to it and take a look into this morning's Sunrise report. Let's go, guys. All right, let's first, let's kick things off. Let's talk a little bit about what happened, of course, last night, right? We got to talk about that, as the futures did edge higher on Alphabet's antitrust win. U.S. stock futures ticked higher on Wednesday as favorable court rulings in Alphabet's Google's antitrust case lifted tech sentiment. The S&P 500 futures were up about 0.4, NASDAQ was up about 0.6, and the Dow future flat. The bounce was tech-led, while energy and bank stocks dragged as investors weighed slowing growth and higher bond yields. Of course, Alphabet and Apple court relief coming into play as shares of Apple surged 6% in the pre-market after the federal judge ruled that, guess what, guys, it can actually keep Chrome. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that as you guys see Google pushing higher and looking good this morning, up there to 226. And guess what it's at? A new all-time high. So everybody that thought that Google was just going to get destroyed, that search was going to go away, guys, it's Google. It's never going away. The big boys, they won't allow it. They'll do whatever they need to stay at the top. But of course, what happened here? The federal judge ruled that it can keep Chrome and it can continue to continue payments to preload Google search, but it cannot use exclusive contracts or lock up licensing. That means that Apple can still take billions from Google for iPhone search defaults. So Apple stock popped about 3%. Wedbush Dan Ives coming in and saying that this is a monster win for Caparino and a home run for Google. He raised his Google target to 245 with this announcement. This shows us more and more. Google's on a breakout. Apple is on a breakout. NVIDIA was just at breakout, so essentially still at a breakout. Amazon just hanging on right there. All-time highs is right there. All it needs is just a little drive. Then you take a look at other names, right? Microsoft may be the one that's lagging a little bit here, but where was it? It was at an all-time high. So at this point, I'm looking at Microsoft to come back through 5/10s, right? Well, I think we got to continue to watch these tech names, guys. If the tech boys can lead the rally, I'll tell you one thing. This market is going higher. So today, as much as people are expecting a turnaround, we just might see a little bit of some shake to the downside, but I think that we could have a little bit of some chop. We're right in the middle of the range. That's another thing to keep in mind. So watch out for the chop today, because if you think about it, we're right in the middle of this range, right? We need to start seeing a little bit more strength, but tech will tell us that today, and that's something that I'll be watching right here. Of course, Alphabet still faces rising competition from AI-powered search rivals like Perplexity and OpenAI, but its ad machine is holding firm while Gemini, its AI suite, becomes more integrated with Android, which runs on about 70% of global smartphones. So in this case, I think that Google, hey, they got the pat on the back. They're going to be able to hang on here and can look to see that they increase there in their market share. And that also tells us more and more that yes, OpenAI and Perplexity are going to be there, but Google isn't going away. And it also tells me that Apple might need to get after Perplexity if it really wants to compete. Macy's pops on strong earnings. Yes, you heard that right. As retail getting a boost here and getting the spike right back to $14.95. We'll see how this starts to kind of come up there as it's pushing pretty good here. We'll talk a little bit more about the numbers. We can dive deeper. EPS here at 41 cents versus an 18-cent estimate. Revenues at 4.81 billion versus 4.76 billion estimate. It did raise its full year outlook. EPS at $1.70 to $2.05. The prior being at $1.60 to $2 on the high end. Revenues at 21.15 billion, up to 21.45 billion. The prior being 21 billion to 21.4. So a slight beat there on the revenue change. The real change is more in the EPS outlook, where you're getting up to as high as 205, but with a low end at 170. So strong consumer spending, tightened guidance, and investors shopping at Macy's. All right, guys, we'll be taking a look to see what happens with the TLT and the action out there. But there was talk that it looks like Fed Chair Watch is starting to happen as Bessent begins interviews. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent will start interviewing potential Fed Chair candidates Friday. Ooh. That is big news there, guys. 11 names on the list. But what are the names? I don't have them here. I know everyone's going to be digging to try to find out. And the final recommendations go to President Donald Trump. Of course, the mix of in-person and video interviews could be happening here. Current chair Jerome Powell is nearing the end of his term, and markets are laser focused on whether the next Fed will stick to independence or will it tilt to the political side. All right, let's move over now to Zscaler. We'll take a look to see how that's performing. Of course, cybersecurity stocks have been hot. Zscaler did rise about 3% after topping expectations here. 89 cents on the EPS versus an 80-cent estimate. Revenues at 719 million versus 707 million estimate. The guidance also beat, signaling that cybersecurity demand and remains resilient as enterprises expand cloud defense here. So we'll see if this can help other names that we're already pushing get the lift right back up. So I think Snow, you put on the radar, guys. I know that PanW's did a nice little pop off of this, right? So we could set an alert back up above 235.78. PanW also, this tells me, yeah, well, you know what? You had a little bit of a move up. You've been kind of slow grinding up. Let's go close this gap and really start to push here. So I'm looking for a rise to 193 today in PanW. Not a bad way to maybe play this for the upside to finally fill that gap there. You also have some support because of this sideways action right here. So support is around like kind of the 186, 185 range. Let's see if we can push through the 193 and start making our way back to 200. You can also take a look at different names like CrowdStrike, right? Those had a little bit of a bounce. Snow had a really nice bounce. Zscaler, of course, part of the recent rally. This could get the nice little lift right back. I could also watch just the name right here, right? You can see how it is chopping around on the hourly. So watch out for attempted breaks on the support of that hourly and then a rise right back above this close, right? So that's kind of the range that it's stuck in right now between, let's say, 277s and 285. Anything above or below that could be a way to maybe play the trade. We'll see what happens there in Zscaler. Market backdrop, of course, as the session saw a little bit of the indexes moving back and forth. There was 3 indexes that fell as traders took profits from the summer rally. Bond yields spiked after last week's appeal in the court ruling struck down much of Trump's global tariffs, raising refund risk. September historically is the worst month for stocks since 1950. S&P 500 averaging down 7%. Wells Fargo, Scott Wren, volatility should increase as tariffs bite piecemeal and the economy slows. And guess what? Politics heat up. Wow, I don't think we need any more of politics in the markets. But hey, That's just what it seemed. And what's the next big test, of course? Well, the next big test is going to be the jobs number. That's what we'll all have eyes open for. What will come from the jobs number this time around? Good morning to you guys. It's good to see you guys out there. Big milkshake. I need a big milkshake. It's one of those days. Family is a little under the weather, and I'm here battling the storm. So, hey, batten down the hatches. Let's get after it and see what we can come up with. And that also means that I'll be taking shots early today. I'm not going to be hanging around and sticking on the sidelines. All right, there's some names here from Steph's. You know, Steph always keeping up with some of these smaller names. Not bad looking names right there. I'm seeing a couple of them right now. BTBD, did you got this one on the radar? Oh, yeah, you got it on the radar. That one's moving right now. BTBD, let's take a look at that one. That one just getting the lift there from $3 up there to the $4 spot. This looks like a cup and handle pattern, just waiting to get going here. Let's see if it can do the cup and handle pattern. Let's go to the 1 minute and watch it live right here in front of you guys. So what do I mean by cup and handle pattern? Well, you'd get a cup handle, right? So I do this drawing a circle. You can do this drawing whatever you'd want, right? So you can see kind of here how this kind of circle could come into play, right? And so what you want to kind of do is you want to look to see that it comes back to the 9 EMA, right? And usually what I do is I draw a resistance on this left-hand side. It definitely needs to go below that, and you want to look for a consolidation area where you're getting a little bit of some chop, right? So like right here, we had some consolidation. So for me, it's an attempted move to 350s and a recovery of 4 for the cup and handle pattern. We'll look to see what happens there on BTBD, a restaurant name that I'll be watching. So what can I do? I can set an alert there, 354. If it comes back through that, I'll let you guys know, and we might just take a trade in this name. Still in my IPDN trade, guys. We'll see what happens on that. Back and forth on this name. I'm going to stay in it for right now. It just looks good. I'll hang out, guys. We'll see what happens on this. I might take a big hit, but I'm taking a shot. Yesterday made a killing on the VXX. All right, AIHS. Sorry about that one. That one's a little complicated on the mouth. But I will say that this chart looks amazing, Steph. So really good looking chart here as this starts to develop. So I want to keep this one on the radar also. AIHS really looks positive here as it's starting to build. I really like how it's gone up 1, down 1, up 2, down 2, could make it up 3, and then a small pullback. That's what I'll be watching for, right? I draw these all the time, guys, and I think they're so important. My rule of 3, right? So here comes the first support test. Then you get an attempt towards the resistance, which is up here. Not this one. This is not the resistance, because if you drew a trend line, it wouldn't work. So what you look for is that next attempt to support. Boom, we've gotten that attempt to support, and we've created some harder support right here off of that. Now we're starting to come back up, looking for a move back towards 377s, and then maybe a slight pullback, then the move higher. That's just the way that I like to look for things, and for it not to break what? This third zone, right? So as soon as we start to create kind of the higher lows, the support, we're looking for that area to kind of hold in here and then for the breakout above, right? So we'll look to see what happens with that area. If we do get the breakout on AIHS, which could be a breakout above 4. So we'll see if we can somehow get up into that 450 spot and able to nail this trade, of course. I'll put the green there. That's the real green sign if this one really wants to get going. It's in a good area too, credit services. So this is not a bad one to watch. AIHS. I'll be watching it, guys. We'll see what happens with this one. All right, guys, that's going to do it for that one. We'll really kick the show off. Start that countdown. Let's get to some stocks. Let's take a look around out there. It's going to be, I think, an action-packed day. So smash the like. Let's get it started. Google wants 200, baby. You ready to get back to the trading action?
You aim, you shoot, and make money.
It's going to be a great day. You guys know where you're at. Na, 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 na. Let's go, let's go. Let's bring on the man himself, Michael Noss. What's going on, man?
How's it going? Man, I'm big.
Yeah,
Is
you're
it
a big
zoomed
guy.
in here?
You're a
What's
big
going
guy,
on?
man. You're a big
Zo-
guy.
Zoomed right in. Yeah, how's it going? I guess uh, Google had a lawsuit or something. I owned a bunch of Google and just kind of yesterday took a look at it and now I'm up a bunch. So
Yeah, man. I
happy that
mean,
happened.
bet against Google. Does that sound like a good idea?
Nope.
Never. And then another thing was everyone was like, "Oh, but Google's gonna get hit hard. It's gonna get destroyed." But Open AI and guys, did you guys forget who's in office? Do you think that Donald Trump would have allowed this judge to have stepped up here and been like, "I'm taking Google down"? Heck no. Heck no.
Yeah, and I don't know.
It's politics, man. It's 150% politics. Because if you actually look at what Google does, it is 1000% a monopoly. But
Oh, for
who
sure.
cares, right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's just the way things are. There's certain corporations that are so big, they can't fall. They can't fall, guys. Because if they fall, guess what? We're falling too. So I think that's another part of it is that breaking up Google here would not help the market. It would hurt the market. And so in this case, I don't think Trump would allow that even to come close, guys. If
Well,
he
and
and the
it's
DOJ has been soft as of late. Let's be honest.
it's funny as much as investors seem to want to fight the kind of breakup and dissolution. It's like so far, every time in history that's happened, it's been good for over time for the shareholders. Like just look at the telecoms, right? When they
Yeah,
took AT and
that's
T
true.
and they split it up, because it's not like I think the thing was Chrome. Like if they took Chrome and made its own company, if you're a shareholder, you would get some of that company,
Yeah,
right?
it's not like you get
They're not
none.
taking that
They're
from you,
not going to
right?
Intel mobilize you.
Yeah, and it's we talked about it with GE, right? GE
Yeah,
actually did much better after it spun off what GE
they did
Aerospace,
it
GE
well.
Healthcare.
Normally, this is with a like a kind of a what I call like the dying brands, right? Where the
Mm.
splits kind of I think makes sense. In this case, Google's not going anywhere, guys. like like as much as yeah, and you and I even are a fan of like things like perplexity coming in and shaking things up. I'm more than a fan of shaking things up. It's capitalism, right? You and I are more a fan of yeah, free competition. Come in and compete. But at the end of the day, Google is not going anywhere. People are still searching on Google. Yes, there will be open AI searches, but guess what? Guess where OpenAI does a lot of its searching on
Well,
Google, man.
and right, we gotta love the competition because the whole like that Gemini like preview they put at the top of the
Yeah,
search thing. I love that. And they you guaranteed they would not have done that unless they had someone nipping at their heels saying, "Hey, we're going to replace you." And they get everyone together and they say, "Well, okay, we got to figure out a way not to get replaced." And
hundred
that's how
percent.
innovation happens, right? Because you're not going to change anything if you are the only option in town in which to place trades or which to place searches. So as soon as someone else comes along, all of a sudden now I don't need to click on to 7 different websites. I've done it. I think when I was in the green room there, I did it like 3 times where I just type something in, and as opposed to actually going into Reddit, which is where it gets a lot of its answers from, I just did that AI overview thing, and that was the exact answer I needed, and I moved on with my day. So yeah, I love that Perplexity and these other guys are coming in, and they're gonna have their place, right?
Yeah,
ChatGPT for search, I don't think is the move. I think ChatGPT for programming or deep research and stuff like that makes sense. But yeah, this little Gemini search thing, it's been great. And
yeah,
again,
yeah.
they
The
wouldn't have done
Gemini
it
has
unless
been a
I
good
had to.
addition. It's not the worst, right? I think at the end of the day, you're just gonna have options, right? Like it's not gonna be
Mhm.
one that just rules everything. There's not one that's just that much better than the others, right? Like I still put ChatGPT at the top, but I don't. It's not so much better than let's say two or the third, or the second or third option, right?
Well, and what's going to be interesting is I think you're going to have a company does, and I know Perplexity does some of this already, and I think it's a brilliant move where I want to type in a question, and then I want to have a service understand which GPT is going to be best at that question, and
Yeah.
then ask that one, right? So like a hub that says, okay, this, you're asking about programming. Well, we know Claude's really good at that, so we'll send it to Claude. We'll get the answer from it, and we'll give it back to you as like a kind of a centralized agent. And that I think is going to end up doing really, really well because I don't want to have to think about, okay, I'm programming now, use Claude, I'm doing this, use this, I'm using this. I just want an AI to do that for me. Say, hey, you're searching, right? Perplexity is really good at search, or you're programming, and this is really good at something like that. So, um, and then the other thing we got to remember is these guys got more money than God. So they can, if someone gets too close, they're just going to buy them.
That's it. That's
Right?
it. That's the thing too, right? It's that it's kind of like the moat's too big, man. The moat's too big for this company to fail, right? And
Hmm.
same way that I thought the same thing for Apple and when it was struggling, right? Like everyone was like, "Oh, but Apple doesn't do AI. It's not going to survive here. It's dead
Yeah.
in the water. It's not going to be able to like the iPhone's tariffs. Oh my god."
It's
That's
like
just
all
how
this
it
stuff
goes,
for
guys.
small companies that are cash strapped in a mobile. But when you have as much cash, especially the amount of money that Apple is just earning sitting on
Just
insane amounts of treasury
sitting.
bills, like they can just say, okay, let's, if it ever became an emergency for them, they say, okay, let's figure it out. Let's buy Perplexity. Let's buy
Yep.
Anthropic. I think it's probably more likely that they just take all that money and like Meta was doing, pay some AI developers insane sums, and they could probably spin up something that would be close enough to a chat GPT in a couple months that, well, we saw even with China. China did it, right? They built the, what was that DeepSeek thing that kind of scared everyone for a second.
Yeah.
Apple could do something like that, right?
Yeah, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with just buying one when they need it. They don't need
Yeah.
it right now. That's just the truth. There'll come a point in time. All right, let's take a look into the market. We'll get out of the Google conversation. I know everyone's going to be talking about that, but man, seems like the markets are getting more political every single day. And that's where I think you're seeing more and more mentions. Even this morning, I got a comment here from an analyst that was saying the same thing. I talked about it on the Sunrise report, but I think that's something to look at, right? As we're keep getting more and more about, hey, it just seems like the markets are getting very political. It was Wells Fargo's Scott Warren. He said that volatility should increase as tariffs bite piecemeal, the economy slowing down and politics heating up. So the economy slowing down, I don't see it right now, at least for the time being. So I think that one we can push it aside. But the political side of things is definitely kicking off. And another thing that's kicking off that I talked about just last week would be what? That they would start to do the interviews to take a look to see that replacement. So they're going to start trying to move the narrative off of that Fed member that's going to get, the boot. And from now, they'll just start focusing on, oh, but this guy is going to replace him. So anything what the replacement says is going to be more focused than Jerome's words anymore. At some point, they know that Jerome's bye-bye. So they're going to
Hmm.
start to focus more on what does the replacement of Jerome Powell say, right? Because that helps us to know what happens next year, right? So we'll see what
Yeah,
happens
and
there.
there's I think it's Kalshi for
Yeah, predicted
the new Fed
markets.
chair,
Yeah. Oh,
and
there's 11 members too that are supposedly on the list. We need the names on this list. So, Michael, if you know anybody that can go do some digging,
well here,
the
so this
11
is
names, man.
right. So I trust the wisdom of the crowd. So this is the Kalshi betting markets for
All
the next
right.
Fed chair. So it seems like it's between Christopher Waller,
A
Kevin
Waller.
Walsh, Kevin Hassett, um, and then 10% plus for but these are all of them that you
Let
can
me
bet
see.
on.
Let me
Man,
see this. I gotta see this.
Janet Yellen, you could you could turn 1 cent into $1 if the crazy happens.
Yeah, I don't think she's coming back, man.
So yeah, these are all the J Powell's got a less than 1% chance.
What's Waller's chance?
Waller is 28%.
He's
So
the top dog.
he's the top dog. So triple your money if you're right. Right,
He's a top dog. It's really not a bad bet.
28 cents into or 32 cents into a buck with the spread.
You know what you do, right? You start looking at Waller's comments and you start to study that, right? See if there's any adjustment that has been made in his comments, right?
Well, and it's funny because probably something. I bet you if you track these charts, they
Yeah.
said something because it was like a 60% chance it was going to be this Kevin Warsh guy, and then he fell like right out of favor. So I don't know if he said something to upset the king there for a second, but
You know how it is, man. You gotta bow down and bow down quickly. Kiss the ring. Kiss the
so
ring.
yeah, I wouldn't say it's like super accurate right now, but a month out, I bet you this place has it nailed more than anything, right? Just go because again, surveys, whatever. It's the reason I love positioning data so much. You can say whatever you want on surveys. I think surveys after social media are just broken forever. They're always negative all the time. But this is like people are actually this market is made by people putting money in. So I kind of treat this the same as like price action of a stock. This is the current bets that people are making with their hard-earned money now. And yeah, you can right? You can chart it out over time. You can see what happened each day. Oh, we had a little dump there this week. I don't know. Maybe people are, but yeah, you can go through and it'd be funny, yeah, to take these and line up when they speak. Do we have any of these guys speaking today?
Always some
Al
speaking out there, right?
Kashkari. So that is
Kaskari, yeah.
so right. Is he even on the list here? So maybe listen to his speech, and this could be a way to play a couple bucks. Donald Trump himself. There you go. Why not? You can actually bet on if he makes himself Fed chair. But no, that guy doesn't seem to be on the list at all.
Yeah, you see like things like this interview I think are very important. I found an interview about 1 month ago where Waller hinting at July's descent as he makes case for rate cut, and I think moments like this are specific kind of interviews that you want to catch to give you insights on that. And I mean, we're all betting men, right? Betting men and women out there. There's nothing wrong with maybe taking a look into this. Here, I'll give you guys the link here for that YouTube interview. We
Well,
don't
and
have to watch it, but
what I'm
I want to give you
interested
guys
in
some
is
information at least
using these things to potentially make bets
in the
in
financial
the stock
markets, right?
market,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's just and then maybe hedging some way, right? A little bit of an ability. I think there's some ways to put bets on these, right? Maybe it's just taking the top two names, right? Because I mean, you still got a pretty good chance if you take the top two names, right? You might lose on one, but you still got a pretty good
Well,
odds
yeah,
there.
and if you study, right, if you knew what each of these people would mean for Fed policy, and then all of a sudden you see one name jump dramatically or one name dump dramatically, that I just mean there could be a direct trade to make on the SPY just right there, right?
Yep.
If one of them is more going to be more aggressive about raising rates, and that guy takes the lead, then maybe you buy the SPY or vice versa, right? If there's a drop, you end up taking the other side of that. So there is definitely market implications for this kind of these type of markets. So I'm paying attention and thinking about them when as they become more active. I want to definitely make sure I'm paying attention to them.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. It's going to be definitely interesting. And of course, that's going to be all Fed talk there. But we'll see what happens. Let's get towards the trading action side of things. We still got about 15 minutes before the bell here. We're going to be taking a look at some tradings, some different stocks out there. Of course, yesterday, kind of the nice little bounce back there on some names. Wasn't all the names, but we did get some names to start bouncing back. Now I think we got to look to see, can this bounce back actually hold here? Does this rally have some legs? we're stuck in the middle in the SPY, right? I think it's kind of a tough day being stuck right in the middle of that gap, essentially.
Yeah, and if you take a look at the ES, right, so you get the overnight action, it's gapping and holding today, bounce kind of right where it should. Well, more importantly, if we want to look at what kind of the average stock is doing, had much more of a bounce than in the Russell than you did in the SPY. So one thing that I'm looking at is
Hmm.
I'm looking to see if I'm using this candle. So this is the JPOW kind of I'm going to drop rates soon candle. And if you
Yeah.
see how little retracement has happened in the Russell, and then you compare that to the ES where it retraced most of that candle, and then you look at the NQ where it kind of retraced all of it and then broke that candle a little bit, it's just showing again more of what we're talking about, that these small caps seem to be king here. So this is what I'm going to focus on today, is the prior high right here. We've got two areas of support right there. So if we can get into that zone, that's definitely going to be a little bit of a trade I was going to take. And just looking at the RSP, the equal weight really ripped yesterday. So the average stock did very well, but it was the large cap tech names that actually held back. And then if you're looking at today's pre-market action, it's kind of the complete opposite. You've got Apple up big and you got Google up big, and then the rest of the market's just kind of meandering about. So less of a kind of everything rally today. So I think it might be time to focus a little bit on some of this kind of big cap tech, right? I see Tesla's actually above yesterday's high. This is
Yeah.
interesting after 4 or 5 days of a pullback. Maybe we're getting a little bit of a bounce here on Tesla. So I
Yeah.
think I'm going to be spending most of my time watching these large cap kind of names, right?
Yeah, and if you guys remember, I was even talking about taking a swing, right? I got cut out of that Tuesday morning and I talked about it, how it just made sense, right? Like they just cut me out right before the turn there, and the daily chart looks great on Tesla. So I'm with you on that Tesla, Michael. I think it just was kind of like that last little washout move before they try to send it here back towards 360 and 400. So I still think 400 is in play here for Tesla. And the biggest thing for me in Tesla sometimes is I feel like this has a tendency of happening just because it's Tesla. We look at the daily chart too much when we're not looking at the monthly. The monthly to me still looks really like a developing stock. Like I try my best not to, like, when I look at monthlies, I try my best not to focus too much about, let's say, fundamentals, and just be like, okay, is this chart overall still trending to the upside? And I think that in Tesla, you can clearly see it's still trending to the upside,
Yep.
regardless if we want to, be political or whatever we want to do. It's still trending to the upside.
Yeah, it's right. It's a volatile trend, but again, that's what
Yeah,
you
it's a
sign up for
volatile
when you're
trend,
trading
but
Tesla. But ever since it has been the weakest by far of the Mag 7. However, since the April lows, it's been grinding higher here. And yeah, I just think like 4 days down in a row, a little bit of a bounce. You have TSLL, which is an
yeah,
easy kind of low cost way to trade this one if you want to. Right, this is TSLL is down from that high to low. It dropped like 18, 19%. Just maybe a little bit of relief just seeing that we're getting this kind of big pop and big move in these different names that are all big cap tech related. So if the Mag 7, and you can always look at that with the MAGS, if the Mag 7 is going to rip, because you can see this is getting close to all-time highs again, where the SPY just isn't there quite yet, then it makes sense, in my opinion, to start looking at that today. It seems like it's almost day after day. It's either an everything rally, and you got to look at small caps, and you got to look in that area, or you're just getting this push directly with the large caps. And this seems like it's one of those type of days. We obviously won't know till the market opens, but I'm going to take, for my one discretionary trade today, I'm going to take a really close look here at Tesla. And I was just watching a little bit of the pre-market action, and it actually looks really good where, got to turn on pre-market to see it. Right, gapped up, and then this blue line here is VWAP, and it's just every time it's pulled into VWAP, pretty much all night and all morning, it's gotten a bounce over and over again. So I think it's got a pretty clear zone here at like 35.50. If it takes that out, you want to see kind of a quick move up to the downside. You've got this yesterday's high right here, and then you've also got the 2-day VWAP that I'm gonna watch to the downside. But I'm gonna hunt this for a potential buy today. I think that's gonna be my one shot. It was Neo yesterday, and that worked out pretty good, right? Because it had this crazy candle and then dipped off the open, so I kind of bought it right here, and it just meandered higher all day. So I'll take that. If I can get another one here in Tesla, I'll be happy. 2 in a row.
Macy's. Can you believe it? People go there anymore?
Yeah,
I
I was
didn't even
actually
know
that's
that, man.
on the short list for today
Oh, I'm with you,
to
man. I'm with you on that.
break VWAP here.
I've been watching retail, and it's not looking as hot as it was. Remember that Nike? How it was like kind of kick-started things, guys. Starting to lose altitude. That's one thing I will say. It's had its attempt there to 80s a couple of times. Nike could be one name that you look at today to see if it just completely collapses, and I think you'll see Macy's come with it too. But this is one name that I just use as an indicator because it kind of kick-started the XRT, and then the XRT started to pull back, right? Well, you can see the XRT as of late. It is trying to make pushes, but every time it pushes, it gets these quick little moves right back here. So I think that we're coming towards a time where the XRT usually does well, but it's after the September time. It's usually more later into the October, November, December time, right? Because the holidays and people just start buying stuff, right? But I think that that's what we got to be looking for. I think we might get our pullback here first, and then a move back to the upside. And what's seasonality pointing towards there from the tool, Michael?
Oh yeah, so this is Macy's. Just while we're chatting
Macy's.
there,
That's fine.
at the
And maybe we can just
44.
take a quick look at XRT.
So 44 overall percent up, which means, right, obviously more of a chance that it is down this month and then kind of ramps in that November time frame. And then if we do XRT, it probably going to be about the same. Yeah, so both August, September are historically not too good. Then you get that November seems to be the best one. July and November. It's weird July. I don't know what the significance there would be for retail, but yeah, these 2 months generally are to the downside here. And I don't know how XRT is weighted, but I was looking at this chart on the monthly chart, and it looks like it's kind of poised here for maybe a breakout in the retail sector. I like RSPD, I think it is. Yeah. So RSPD is equal weighted discretionaries. And it's the reason I use equal weighted discretionaries and I don't look at like, what is it, XLY, is because XLY is 40% Amazon and Tesla. So it's basically an Amazon and Tesla ETF because it's cap weighted. And this is equal weight. So this is what your average discretionary stock is. And this is a great indicator of just overall economy health, because if by definition, right, consumer discretionary means people buying shit they don't need, and if people buying stuff they don't need is rocketing and hitting new highs, then that's great. And you can take this, and I think it's RSPD divided by RSP, is it V? I don't know. There's one, I'll find it, but there's consumer discretionaries versus consumer staples, equal weight. And I know a lot of funds, hedge funds, use that as the simplest metric to kind of figure out whether or not the market or the economy is healthy or not. Because if consumer staples, if people are buying more in staples than they are in discretionary stuff, generally speaking, they're going to be tighter on money. If they're spending more in discretionary than they are in staples, then they're less tight on money. And last time I looked at it, that was hitting like decade highs. So just showing really good underlying strength there. So yeah, RSPD, if you want to look at that. And then of course, XRT is the retail. But one thing that's really weighing down this retail is Target. Look at this friggin' thing. Just new lows after new lows here on Target. Just
It's
can't get going.
crazy to me, man. Because if I showed you my Target down the street, you'd be like, "How in the hell does it not make money?" 'Cause that thing is slammed. Like it's so slammed, I don't even like going there, man. Like, is that popular here? I just don't understand it.
Could be
I don't
just
get it,
unique.
man.
unique to your area, right? It's funny. It's the same. So when it comes to retail, especially national retail and real estate, it's just so hard to get channel checks done if you're not doing it like nationwide, right? Because you got to take a look at what's happening in the other side, and whatever's affecting Target is certainly not affecting Walmart. Look at this thing's just been nuts. So
All
you could
right,
do
guys,
a
I'm seeing this AIH start getting a little bit proppy here. I'm trying to grab it a little bit here. We talked about the setup there, just undercut right back towards a 15-minute, like kind of third bottoming at like 325s, 330s. I'm trying to get in here at 340s on a slight pullback. I still got that IPDN. It's gone up and down multiple times, guys. I've been up like 130. I've been up like even like 230. Still holding on to this bad boy, but also looking at this IHS setup to see if this can start getting going here. I'll show you the 15-minute chart too. I always like to look at the 15 on these smaller ones too. You see how it gets a lot cleaner right there when I get towards the 15. Of course, I got to kind of spread it out to kind of get you that. But you see how it's an up one, up two, down two, and kind of holding in this support area right here. I'm looking to see if we can make a quick move to 380s here. Then it could chop around a little bit, so I might sell just to rip to 380s. But we'll see what happens here in AIHS. If I get the fill, I'm like right on the fill. I'm on the bid right now at 39s. Let's see if it wants to fill me. Let's see if Citadel wants to give me the action on the bid here. 1 or 2 pennies away, but I don't know if I'm going to get the fill. We'll find out. I'll let you guys know. But this looks like a pretty setup there, at least, for smaller names.
Some of these smaller names again might get interesting. We got to keep an eye on the Russell, see if the Russell gets going. But it's moving a little bit here now, just popping up just a bit. So
XBI is another way to kind of take a look at this, right? I think this is an important one to look at for a breakout, especially if you're going to look for all these small caps that kind of run, right? We all know how many of these small caps are in the biotechs, right? So like seeing this thing get hot could mean like look for these penny names that are pharmaceutical names also, right? I have a friend that's into a couple of pharmaceutical names, and I think that that's when I start being like, okay, well maybe they're starting to look at some pharmaceutical names. We'll see what happens, guys. I think you guys can start taking a look at the biotech space to see if there's anything that's pointing out, right? It's like kind of standing out. I can do that with like RSI or some case like that to try to find names that are hot, right? Like look at this halo. I have no idea what the hell this does, but that's a good looking chart, right? Like that thing is climbing fast, right? So I want to find names that are really starting to push. I don't know what the hell this ions does, but that's a huge lift in 2 days, right? This one might be a good VWAP reversal. That's a little bit too much there for a name that I've never heard of in my life. But hey, you know how it is. That's the whole thing about this space and going to search and trying to find plays there, right? There's STOK. And you want names like, these are nice momentum breakouts, right? Breakouts holding the 9 EMA could continue to go higher. TGTX, another known runner before. Let's get after the day. Let's see what we can come up with today, guys. It's going to be a fun market day action. IPDN starting it off here, going up and down. So we'll see what happens with this one, if this one can really take off. Taking some trades. I got that AIHS there at the 340s. Let's get after today, guys. Wish you the best of luck. Let's go.
Well, yeah, and just remember that we have Jolt's jobs openings at 10. So for the first
that's going to
30
make
minutes,
a huge impact.
Yeah, we know that jobs are one of the main things that the Fed is focusing on, whether or not they're going to be able to cut rates or not. So that we've got some other stuff like factory orders.
Let's go. IPDN, AIHS, 2 winners here, doing well. Let's see if they can really start pushing there. You guys will see these starting to lift. Let's see if they can really get going here. AIHS, I actually added to it as it started to push here. Now I can kind of look for this one to really take off here. 360s looking good. Let's see if this starts to push. I'm going to tight stop on this one, about 40 bucks, 339s, but looking good there. And you guys can see IPDN really taking off there to 9, guys. I want to sell a little portion of this right now as we keep getting above these 9s. Let's just sell like 100 shares just to make sure I sell something up in this space. There you go. I sold the 100 shares there, right there. We'll look to see if it can continue to go. IPDN stuck in it there. Now we're getting the lift, and I keep winning on these small names, man. Not winning on the big names. Stuck with it today. It's paying off. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, well, you're right. Maybe you're finding your niche, if not forever. Maybe they're just working
They're
in
just
this
working right
market.
now.
But
You've heard me mention this before, how these names can just work. Look at that, 940 now, guys. Woo! Let's go, let's go. Let's sell another 100 into this rip. I think we're going to get a halter here. All right, sell some there at 942. That's what I'm talking about. Let's get it. Let's get it. Took another profit take there. Look at AIH now really starting to take off there. That's looking good there too. So at this point, I'm canceling my stop so they don't come hunt me. They're going right into a trend line. They might try to reload this name though. That's the one thing I will say. IHS. You can see how the trend line's right up there. You can see how we're starting now to come right into that trend line. This is where they can come and pull it back and look for a reload for the big breakout. Remember I talked about how watch maybe the VWAP pull back and then the move higher. We'll see if we get that in AIHS. Let's go, guys. Small ones kicking it off. Shane, what are you looking at out there, man?
Macy's is actually ripping.
Woo.
So
AIHS. Let's go. Looking great there, guys.
I may not get my fade in Macy's, so I got to keep taking a look there and see if
$10 now, guys, on IPDN. It's going to go into a halt here. I'm going to try to sell some before I get out. There you go. Boom. Got some sold at 10.10. Let's go. This is what I needed today, guys, because I can't even be here long today. So this is what I'm talking about. Let's go.
Get that opening drive and move on with the day.
Yep, looking good here on this AIHS. I think it can reload and pull back to 350s here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly start putting out some stop loss in the green. There's 390s looking like it wants to go. Can it get to 4? Let's see it. 396 looking really good. I put out a target up here for a break towards 435. So we're going to go and take that if we can get it here. Let's see if we can get up there to the 420 spot there. Haha, pun intended. Celebrate the day. Let's go.
IWM is ripping here. So small, that's going to help you out with the small caps.
Ooh, the FLNC trade is looking good there too. I want this one, but you know, the day trades are taking the show right now. Here it comes, guys. AIHS looking for the profit take here. Let's see if we can get it there. It just tapped my profit take, did not take the profit there. So I'm looking to see if we can get back above 4s here. Man, that was close to breaking out through the 4s. Let's see if we can get it. Stop at 396 now to make sure I get the profit there. Boom. Profits at 4. I tried the 420s there, guys. It literally went off a tick off of my like I had it literally at 420. It went right to 419. You know what I mean? That's how it goes sometimes, right? But hey, 20 cents, not getting that 20 cents is not going to get me mad. That's a hell of a trade right there on AIHS with 400 shares, 186. I'll take it. The reason why I am not just holding that name now is because I'm just paying myself, right? Like it's already a $500 day and I still have another trade, right? So I don't need to go and then push on a day like today. I'm just trying to secure the cash. So I secured the cash there right out the gates there, $533 just to start the day, guys. And not crazy positioning. You guys can see it there. The top position was like 400 shares. There's 2 400 share positions there. It started at 200 shares on both of them and then adding as they start to what? Work, right? 340s, 358 add. 817, 814 add, right? 840 add, right? So really good moves there to start the day.
Yeah, I've only gotten this ANTE. Not too sure what this guy is. Anti. We'll just call it, but it's just a mean reversion kind of a setup, just looking for a stock that was really strong yesterday and then is continuing just a bit today to take a little bit of a mean reversion setup there. But I wanted to show you guys just the IWM real quick, just right off the open, just absolute ripping through all of this base right here, well over the kind of gap or the gap down that we had, trying to get through yesterday's high, and then that would close the gap from right? The bear market that lasted one day. Again, everyone got scared. So yeah, everything ripping. This is one of those throw a dartboard, and your stock should be going up. And if it's not, you take a little bit of a pause here because it would happen real fast. Now we do have jolts, so there is a chance that we get a little bit of rug pull happen there. So we need to just always keep an eye on that. And then I haven't done anything with my Tesla yet. And so far, like tax showing off here, it's just been really down off the open. So some mean reversion there. I want to take a look at, right, Google, which had the big news, just kind of chopping around, but pulling back a little bit. And then Apple. So getting a little bit of a reversion here where we're getting the Qs right down off the open and hitting lows of the day. Then we're getting the IWM up off the open. So the great unwind continues, and we'll keep going until these guys cover.
Great trade here, guys. Look at that AIHS continuing now. We'll look to see if it rips through, but look at this drawn trade for you guys since the pre-market. Drew this complete trade out, looking for the move to kind of come into here, find that support zone. Then what did we get? Liquidity search. Look how it was a wash and then a recovery. That was the good look there, the wash and recovery. Another reason why I think it's important to start small, like I tried to do, 200 shares. It gave me the ability when this dropped right out the gates. I didn't just like deer in headlights get out really quickly. If I was too big, too early, yes, I would have got washed out with that liquidity move.
It's always the way, right? Position sizing is, I think, the most important part of the entire game.
Yeah. Especially if you want to stay in a trade, right? Like make outsized returns, you really need to hone in on your positioning.
Yeah, I think with proper risk management, people could take any strategy that you see on YouTube or wherever and just be able to, if you size it correctly, end up making money kind of in the long run. But IWM has turned and broken new highs of days, and then the Qs has turned and hit new low of day. So the great unwind continues. Now I want to take a look at a little crypto action here because Bitcoin had a little bit of a spike earlier, but that's giving that back with the Qs. Ethereum is actually pushing, moving higher here. This really long base, long kind of pullback channel in Ethereum is interesting because we know it's sitting at all-time highs. We know buying all-time highs is a good thing. Solana is kind of ripping here as well. So
SINT. Guys, I'm not stuttering today. I'm going after it. I'm in execution mode. Look at that SINT go, baby. We're in another halter. Let's go. Let's get this going, baby.
Macy's. It's just kind of chilling out a bit here. I haven't taken a trade in it yet, but it's getting close to that VWAP.
Oh, man. You guys want to know? Mitch just made a mistake. He was getting too confident there.
Uh-oh.
I was being quick. You guys were seeing me. I was on point. I was in the zone. I'll show you what happened there. I would have been like, we would have been on fire right now. This is how it goes sometimes. Especially, I'm a little tired because a lot of things are going on in the house right now. So SINT, I tried the long there at 560. I thought I had the long there. I ended up shorting it because I had a recent sell when I had sold out, and normally I have my things on buy, like they just sit on buy, they don't sit on sell. So I was thinking it was sitting on buy, and I quickly just triggered in there. So let's see what happens here. Maybe I can get an entry still at SINT, but I did take a little small hit there, $33, because I was on the wrong button there, and I could show you guys it. I was feeling good, man. It was looking like it was going to stop right there at $6. Now it's like, do I get in, or am I just getting pretty with it? Right? That's the mentality here. But I really like this setup on SINT. It just
if it was me, after I got a rule of a mistake like that, I just stay away.
Yeah, I'm just gonna watch it fly, guys. We'll watch it fly here. It just looks like a really nice setup. I already had it set to alert me at 560. And then it just started to pop here. If it gets to 6, I think this really can get going. And it's a known runner. So we'll see what happens there. SINT. Look at the hourly lows all around the same area. That's also something that you want to see on a name like this, right? So 15 minutes, hourly charts. Look how that 15 really built there, right? So, All right, we'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens when IPDN opens up and that AIHS up there, 426 and holding, man. I'm looking for a pullback on that thing, but that thing's not pulling back. It's just holding strength right there. We got a small pullback to 380s. Look at the drive there. Now trying to get into that box. There's that box completely filled that we did this morning. There it is, guys. Drew that this morning. Now it's into that box. So hope somebody also watched the setup on AIHS today.
IWM new highs, Qs new lows. So it's the theme has been continuing there. I got another trade here in, what is it, ARWR? Ever heard of it? Arrowhead Pharmaceuticals. Again, another little just mean reversion short, just because the market is ripping. It seems like in a lot of these cases there'll be short mean reversion type plays. So I'm just going to watch those. Still watching Macy's just to see if we can't make a new high here, we can't break out of this little base, and then we fail back down through VWAP. But again, I need that to happen, and just right now nothing's happening in the name.
Call it addiction, call it what you want, but I couldn't help myself. I'm in there, guys, but what I did was I just downsized. I just did 100 shares, and I already put the stop. I said, you know what? I'll take it, but with extreme measured risk here. $17 of risk, nothing of risk, but looking to go ahead and get the trade. Thing is, I was able to get a better entry than my original entry would have been. That's the only reason why I also took it, because I did get
Well,
this
and that's
slight
I think that's a
pullback.
good lesson for, right? You don't need to do absolutes, right? You don't need to say, "Oh, I screwed up. I'm not allowed to trade it." You might
Yeah,
just say, "Okay, I just can't trade it with anything that's
it's
significant
crazy.
size."
It's
Right? I just
wild.
need to
You
I
know what I
need
mean? Don't
to
get wild with it, right? It's okay to take trades as long as we're always measured, right?
STI. Shane is trading there.
SINT, let's see it go to 6. Let's go. 580s. Let's go. Oh, look at IPDN. That thing just opened up almost by 11s there, guys. Wow, what a move, guys. This thing looks like it's going to halt again, guys. I'm putting a stop right behind it because, yeah, it's just coming to come and get me. I'm cool with that. This is just too much money, too fast, guys. There's no reason why not to run to it. IPDN, it just opened up there. It was by 11s. I just took the 1070s there. This is just too great of a trade. It could keep going. This thing looks like it has gas pedal. Look, it's right back towards the highs here. That's why another reason why I'm selling it. I can see it on the daily, right back to the high. Remember, we were watching this one yesterday. I traded this one to the upside yesterday. There it goes, guys. Take off. IPDN. Trade of the day. Shout out right there. Let's go. Hope somebody nailing IPDN with me. Let's go, guys. Oh, look at that thing go. That thing is going, man. Look at that. 1195s now. 12s can come in a hurry here. This one could be, crazy runner, but at the same time, I'm just trying to pay myself and just keep going, man. That's a hell of a trade. Hell of a trade there. Nice sells into the rips. I'll take that. We'll see if we go through 12 and just continue going on this high flyer. Oh,
IWM looks like it's pulling back just a little bit here, taking a little bit of a breath. That might take a wind out of some of the sales when it comes to just looking at
let's go,
the
SINT.
overall market. And we also need to keep in mind that we have 15 minutes until the jolts. So
Till we get Jolt started, let's go. All right, guys. So
IWM really coming in here.
$750 day so far. Let's keep working. Let's get to work, guys.
And now we have the Qs lifting. So these indices are just kind of completely divorced from themselves right now, which
Stop
I
out of
am
that
all for.
SINT. You guys watched it. It kind of came down and tried to hunt me. It tried to pull it down a little bit there, but it hunted me real quick at the 550s. All right, up 730s. Now it's 945. Let's go looking at the overall market.
So Boyle, tax stock mode, nat gas. Interesting.
I think one of the things that I mentioned today, Michael, and I mentioned it early, was like how we were stuck in the middle of the daily range, at least in my eyes. Like,
Hmm.
and I thought that could create chop today. Like it could easily create the chop. Like it gives you attempts to drives, pullbacks, to drives, pullbacks. So that's one
Well,
thing that I'm a little bit concerned about.
I'll be interested to see when this number comes out, right? Because if it comes out in line and it doesn't really surprise anyone, then I'm with you. We're probably going to have a choppy day. If it comes out way above or below what people were expecting, that could change the odds that everyone's calculating on a potential Fed cut. So I think that's because we know the inflation. We've gotten that number, so we just need to know the other side of it, which is the jobs report. And yeah, we just don't have any idea or wherewithal what that could potentially be, at least right now.
All right,
But
guys,
yeah,
continuing to watch this SINT AIH almost made it to 5 right now. It tapped 5, 503, tapped twice, 505. So really good trade there too, guys. I still like this SINT. I might take one more trade and maybe $20 risk or something like that. But the key is I need to see the volume continue to go through the VWAP, right? So I'm going to wait a little bit, wait for more of a 6 break, then try to keep jumping into SINT because I don't want to just waste my cash, right? I need to see strength here, get back above 6 and hold.
good work, Shane.
Shane, let's go, man. Get that money and get the hell out of here, my friend.
Yeah, that's great open, right? Call it a day. What it's
Hey
17
Shane,
minutes into the
just
trading day.
just know the door's always open to you, man. If you want to come hang out, I know that you come and you do your trading in and out, but door's always open to you just to come hang out, maybe talk, maybe even after your trade, and you come explain how you were able to make that money today. I know other traders would love to learn from you, but of
Hmm.
course, just putting it out there as the door open to you. Let me know. I can always send you a private invite. We can do audio only, whatever it is as long as it can help other traders, you know that I think Michael and I are all for that, man.
Yeah.
We're here to that's what we do, right? If not, we would just be trading on our own and it would be a lonely world, but we ra- we'd rather do it together, guys. Let's do
That
it.
is a big thing, right? Trading can definitely be a very lonely. It's the reason actually I started to do YouTube because it's just you get bored just sitting in your house
Yeah,
staring
no,
at the
and then
screen, right?
and the key is to have like the not even it has to be like winning friends. I want to have friends that just have like passion for this, right? Like you
Hmm.
can wake up every morning and you don't have to worry about if they like the markets or not. The markets are going to be up and down, right? That's just a normal part of markets. But when you can find those traders that can really kind of stick and be that professional approach, that's what we're looking for, guys. You can find those guys. Those guys can support you when you're up or down, right? They can keep you level headed. They can also pull you back when when you need to be pulled off the side, right? So, hey, hang in there, guys.
Yeah, speaking of hanging in there, the SPY did a little undercut of the opening range and now is rallying back higher.
Looking
And
forward to it, Shane.
yeah, same with the IWM, just cracked all the way down to VWAP. Nice little bounce there. So we are just range bound. 11 minutes ago until the that number. I think that is kind of the only chance we have today for a big shakeup because we don't really have a Trump talk the way we did yesterday or anything like that. So we need to have something that's either going to break us out of this range or if it comes in line, I think we could just have a little rest day. We got to remember how big of a day it was yesterday. It was a huge gap down, and then we ripped all day to retrace a bunch of that gap down. That's a big move. So it makes perfect sense that maybe today we take a little bit of a break, a little bit of a breather, and then kind of get after it a little bit later in the week, right? So also short weeks can sometimes be choppy weeks. Right, you can have these weeks in which a lot of people are still on vacation, and then you get the full week next week, and you get people actually kind of really back in the saddle. I know a lot of people say after Labor Day, but when it's one of those weeks that Monday is off, so sometimes it takes a little bit for people to get right back into it. So Another short came through, MLYS. Don't know what this guy is, but another short continuation, kind of a break here. So, been a lot of these today. A lot of looking for things that are a little bit overextended and pulling back. So, I am just fully short everything. So, I'm certainly hoping that this number comes in a little bit. I'll say bad. I don't know if weak is good or strong is
Back in
good or anything,
SINT,
but
guys. I'm taking some trades. Just want to let you guys know.
SINT.
So I took two trades there, guys. I wanted to take FLNC in the swing account, but I have too much of FXI to like take a new position. So of course I'm just gonna do the day trade on FLNC. It's just been so good to me, guys. Like I put this on the playbook today, and I was like, you know what? Just rinse and repeat with this name. It's been so good to me. I'm gonna take it again, and we'll see what happens. It's just been every time red to green, looking for red, then green, and for like exactly what I put on my playbook for it to hold VWAP for the rest of the day. Right? Give me some red action. Give me that test, push, and then don't look back. That's what this stock does countless times. Did it here, it did it here, it did it back here, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like when it just keeps repeating a pattern, sometimes it's okay to just be like, hey, just repeat the pattern again, right? I'm not going to be mad at you. Let's go.
Yeah, and if it does it 10 times and then stops, it's
Let's
fine,
go,
right?
SINT. Let's go, guys. Money Mitch is trying to catch one more before he gets out of here. Penny
So it's
stocks are
funny,
working well, man.
the high of the day for this one is
Let's go.
also VWAP, right? So
Yeah.
it keeps bumping its head on VWAP and then reversing. So if it can
Yeah.
finally get through and
Get through
crash
it.
through that,
Yeah, get through it.
that could be the thing.
Yeah, that could be the driving factor, right? That you need, and what you need, right? Volume. Volume's finally starting to come back in. So I also talked about this earlier, how I've been trying to mix the RSI and the MACD, Michael, like trying to look to see like, hey, let's try to have some indicators that line up, right? Like here we're finally getting another cross. We want to see the RSI start to rise, right? Well, there it is. There's a pop to 590s. 6 is the next step. That's the big move where this can really get going. Let's see if this can really start to push through 6 and start to rise, right? Once 6 starts happening, we can easily get to 7. So let's see what happens here. Let's see if this really wants to just take off on SINT.
Yeah, those are good indicators to mix, right? It's important that people know that when if they're looking to combine indicators, that you don't combine, two trend following indicators or two oscillators or whatever, because you're going to get a lot of kind of confirmatory bias, and that can cause
Yeah.
a lot of problems for a lot of people. So the RSI is a bound momentum oscillator, and the MACD is an unbound kind of moving average crossover system. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you want to look for things that are going to read slightly different
Yeah.
to make sure
Slightly
that
different.
they're either confirming or denying or giving mixed signals or something like that. I see a lot of people do, well, the RSI and the stochastic is oversold. It's like, yeah, well, because they're reading essentially the same thing. So yeah, find uncorrelated indicators to try to kind of play that game.
The FXI swing trade has been hard, guys. I was up like 300 again, Michael. It's tough, man. I can't, for some reason, break that 300 spot there. But the gap filled, and maybe I just got a little greedy. We'll see what happens there in FXI. But
China's just
it was a
China's
good
just
trade.
rough because
Good
it
trade,
does
man.
all of its trading while our market's closed. So you just
Yeah,
kind of accept whatever gap China's going to give you this day is
exactly.
going to
And
give you.
sometimes you're going to have to take the pain a little bit, right? I think that's part of the China trade. You got to
Yep.
take some pain. And also, you can either kind of rinse and repeat and like kind of sell quick profits or look for the bigger move, I think, in China. That's just the way it works a lot of the times. We'll see what happens here. SINT, let's go. Let's get it running here. It's a day where I'm just like small cap focused when I haven't mentioned sectors, guys. So I feel bad about that. Hasn't been sexy in the sector area. Health
Well, yeah,
care
the
kind
whole
of up a
market
little
hasn't
bit.
really.
Than anything, right? Like it's
Yeah.
just a bunch of chop. Communication services pulling back. That's kind of where I'm seeing a little bit of some pullback. But how'd that IPDN go? I just stopped watching it, guys. It's back down from 12 back towards 10. VWAP attempt maybe coming in. Is it on the down hole? Ooh, downhole it is, man. Downhole it is. Oof, look at that. Blow off top through 1239 and then pow to 1032. Wow. Well, you know how it is with this TikTok market. Let's see if SINT is the next runner and Money Mitch gives you the 3 for 3 on the penny stock. Let's find out, guys.
And 4 minutes until that new
Ooh,
or that jolts, whatever
go.
that is. So
Let's jolt this thing up, man. Let's go.
we got to pay attention to that because that could rip us new highs or just be the rug pull of the day. So if you're trading, just know that that number is coming.
Wingardium Leviosa.
High, sitting at lows, Qs, sitting at lows. Tesla, trying to bounce here on Tesla, not great, but this is again the discretionary trade of the day that I'm looking at, where we did have a bit of a sell off the open here in Tesla. Right here is the 2-day VWAP, that orange line hanging out near that 2-day VWAP. So if after this number comes out, we break through today's VWAP, I'll take some TSLL and I'll just plunk my stop here at the low of the day and just see if we get a little bit of reversion. Just because, again, we're down like 4 or 5 days in a row on the daily chart. So looking for that kind of 5th day potential green. This is another strategy that I'm looking at to systematize. It's just, it seems almost too simple to work, which makes me think that it will work, is just counting the amount of days up or down in a row and just taking the other side of that. So look for stocks that are up 5 days in a row in downtrends, stocks that are down 5 days in a row in uptrends, and then just looking to take the other side. Again, the simplest ideas are sometimes the best ones.
BTBD attempted breakdown on that one. Just putting it out there. Attempted
2
breakdown.
minutes, still numbers. Pop over here.
That AIHS, dude, that's in the 6s now, almost 7. That was a great trade there, guys. I hope somebody was able to even ride it more than I was. I was a little bit too antsy on profits on that one. That thing never stopped right there. That was a good runner there on AIHS.
Ooh, the Dow is flipped red for the day. RSP, or average large cap stock, also flipped red for the day. IWM very slightly green, but just kind of barely holding on. The fact that we're pulling back into this number, if anything, makes me a little bit more bullish on what the number is going to say. But that's just what we're seeing for now, anyway. We're pulling back as the number is about a minute out there. Not like a dramatic, but a little bit.
Made a nice $600 trade yesterday on the VXX as that shot up yesterday. So looking to see what happens on the VXX today. It's trying to make a move again here. We'll see if the markets actually come down a little bit. Just kind of like, I think we're going to get maybe just a chop suey type of day. I feel like that's what it's doing.
Well, I think we'll figure out in 40, let's say 30 seconds from now. That's when
Here's a hot name that I haven't talked about. I should have brought it up a little earlier, but SMR had a hot day yesterday, continuing today up there to 41. I've been waiting for this thing to get back to 40s for a while. I even tried swing trading it in the 35s and the 36. Just mess this one up a little bit, got out sometimes. This one's hard to trade sometimes, but it's looking good now on the bounce back. And a big thing about that one, it was down already 40-50%. So what I'm going to say with that is maybe look to see if Palantir can get started today. I don't like it back to 190, but can I like it back above this 90 EMA? Yeah, I think you might get an attempt to break 160s today.
All right, there's the number. Let's bring up the SPY and down tick is the first move. Remember, we're always looking for the fourth knee-jerk reaction. I'm just going to look here. If it came out in line, it could just be that we're just chopping for today, but pending still, according to Forex Factory. This is usually pretty quick.
Above here, 6 on SINT. Let's go.
So it came in red. So I don't know what that means. They were thinking 7.3 million and it came in 7.2 million.
Nothing burger.
That doesn't seem like much of a percentage difference at all. And we talked about that, right? If there is a big difference, then it could move the market, and if it's nothing, then we could just continue to and
Yeah.
chop around inside this
I
zone.
wouldn't be surprised if this goes to 643 and then back to 642. Just stays within the chop type of range. Be careful out there trading chop right now. Bigger stocks just seem like they're range bound right now.
Macy's is getting close, so this is kind of the only one that I was looking at for the potential VWAP fade today. It's just come down to VWAP, and then now we've bounced off that a handful of times. So I just want to see a quick flush of VWAP, kind of get us back into this post-market range. The ultimate target here would be 1488. So, right.
Well, guys, what can we say today, man? Knocking on the door.
There you go.
Boom, baby.
Nice, man.
SINT is just one of those days, guys, in the zone and riding the wave, guys. We look like we're about to go into a halt. Let's take 100 out here, see if I can grab it. Boom, sold it, 659. One of the great things of trade the pool is that moment right before the halt. I'll tell you right now, in a normal broker, I wouldn't have got that sold right there. But I just hit the market right there on trade the pool, and it gets me that sell. So a benefit of the platform, essentially, right? So just to put that out there, I know some people love sometimes to like hit us on certain things, right? Well, that's a big bonus right there that I was able to get out some right there instead of waiting for after the halt to see what happens, right? So I'd rather take out half the piece there, pay myself, and no matter what, I just got 3 for 3 on the penny stocks today. Hey, not a bad day. This is why maybe I can sometimes have a little bit of some fun. I'm gonna enjoy it. Sometimes you need it. You guys know I've been struggling on the day trade account, and sometimes you need a good day. Number one thing today, though, not to keep just doubling up,
That's
right?
what I was
Doubling
about to
up,
say.
right? Hey, I'm
When you
riding the
start to get
wave, but
when you mentally start to get too high, that's worse than when you get too low. 'Cause when you get too low, you get bummed out, kick rocks for a couple days, you come up with another plan, you get back to it. If you get too high, that's where, for me, I've done the most damage. So I
yeah,
always want to make
yeah.
sure I'm pulling myself back down. Have yourself a little bit of fun. Just make sure you don't go too crazy with it.
Yeah, yeah, and this would have been the perfect day to be in front of the Trader TV boys. They would have been like, "Man, who's this guy, Money Mitch?" This is one of those days where you just realize, like, "Hey, all right, I can do this thing called trading. Now, how do I make these days repeat?" Right? Well, it's a very structured approach. That's what I would say. What led to the returns today. Structured in the sense of let's stay with the trade, let's look for support entries, not really necessarily getting caught in the middle on breakouts. Like if I would have even long 6, pressure gets really quickly on these names when they go down, like, to let's say 560s really quickly after touching 6. So it's 40 cents down really quickly. I got in actually near the bottom here. The bottoming was 537s and I got in at 554, right? So it gave me the ability of risking 20 cents easily versus how a lot of people probably had to risk on this name to stay in it 40 to 50 or 60 cents, right? So all things that kind of weighed in on the trade. We'll see what happens with it, what I can maximize on that. But unfortunately, guys, I do have a sick household, so I think I'm going to be heading out in a second. Let me see if I can get Josh to hop on here.
Oh, you take off. You do family stuff. I'll hang out and we'll chat about the markets. I'm still watching the SPY kind of on a really short time frame as it is grinding higher. We'll see if it can get back to highs of the day and through it, but just a lot of junk. But yeah, Mitch, get out of here.
All right, man. A great trading day for me, guys. I'll probably just, I can't put it out right now, but as soon as it opens up, I'm just going to put a stop around that 554 with this SINT. I got 839 today, so there's no reason that I even need more profits. It's kind of like if you want to just run, I'll let you run. You know what I mean? We'll see what happens on that one. Great trading day. Overall, also FLNC is another name that I'm still trying to keep on and hold on. We'll see what happens there.
Triggered into the Macy's here. You can see the little red,
Have
the
fun,
red
traders.
arrow. Later, bud. Yeah. So this was one that this is kind of the one of the benefits of bots and just patience in general is that you end up just doing this all day, just hanging above VWAP. The fact that it put in this really bull flag looking thing and then tried to break out and then failed, to me that's makes me feel a little bit better about it. So right, stop's going to go kind of right above these highs, and then I'm targeting the 2-day VWAP. I'll probably target a little bit before $15 just to see if this thing reverses a little bit. Open is flying. Tax says, "Oh, don't jinx me," because you guys know I've got an uncomfortable amount of this one on this candle right here. This kind of really strong candle. Did they publish the new short floats on this guy yet? Yeah, still reading 25% short. I don't know if we're getting an update soon, but holy smokes. That's a nice looking trade there for that. I just love the fact that they are short. I love the fact that we know where they kind of piled in short, because it was only 11% short right here, and they really piled in anywhere between $1 and 50 cents. So these guys they're hurt, and this thing is looking really, really good, really strong there. But totally talking my book on this one because I am very long. STI. I know a lot of people were playing this today, just kind of fell out of bed. I know, I think this was the one that Shane made a bunch of money on shorting. It doesn't look great to me. I mean, you don't want things that kind of right off the bat, they open up when the real people come in and trade for the regular trading hours here at 9:30, just kind of falls apart completely. That to me is not really what I would be interested in seeing, because you got to remember the big guys don't trade in the pre-market. There's not enough liquidity for them. The big guys trade in the real market hours, and as soon as the market opened, they started to sell this one. So this isn't something that I'd be too excited about. Now, for my trades, I've got my Macy's short, I've got my ANTE short, I got my ARWR short, I've got my MLYS short. I don't know what any of these are except Macy's. Of course, I know what Macy's is. These are all just trading setups. So they're based off a strategy that I built. That's a little mean reversion strategy. Can trade both long and short. In this scenario, it's just trading short because the market ripped up so much yesterday that it's looking for, again, wide body candles the day before and then an extension after that. So this MYLS, I'm short from 31. It's kind of right up in this area right here. And yeah, just looking for these. Macy's undercut VWAP, and now it's rallying back through. I'm going to be really, really tight on this one. I don't want to play with this Macy's too much. I've got too many other trades on. So if we get a couple closes above this, I'll just look at this as kind of faked me out and take it and just kind of move on. But you can take a look at the SPY, because this is going to be an S&P 500 component, because it's such a big name. So it's going to move somewhat with what's happening with the S&P 500. So I want to see what happens. We got this nice bounce, initial bounce off of that level, an initial bounce off of that news that came out. The JOLTS was better than or worse than expected. Again, I don't know. Sometimes, what is it? Bad news is good. Good news is bad. I'm not smart enough to think about any of that stuff. So all I know is that the initial reaction seems positive. So we need to see what the next reaction is going to be. So far pulling back just a bit. Again, I'm going to be betting, I'm going to be hoping, I'd say, that things are pull back a bit because I'm short everything. But, big guys use ISDA. Yeah, dark pools, refreshing orders. No way they're using regular exchanges, but nothing they would do would affect the pre-market trading of some of these. But look at this day. Look at this chop action here today. If we look at the ES, the futures contract, it's more of the same. So this was after hours. This rip right here was when that came out for Google and said, hey, pro Google. And then we've just been stuck inside that range. So for me, it's you mark the pre-market high and then you mark maybe this real-time hours low. And then as long as we're inside that range, that's not really exciting on either side of things, right? We want to look for things that are exciting or interested. Do I think Buffett will unload Kraft Heinz? I don't think Buffett sells much of anything, does he? Jeez. Ugh. Well, at some point. But he doesn't look at price action. Although I think sometimes when I look at like his Oxy trade and everything, sometimes makes me think that he's a closeted technician. Because forever, every time we hit the support, he was just buying more and more Oxy. Yeah, he says he doesn't care about the price of the stock. He just wants to go happen. They want to split Kraft Heinz. Again, splits, generally speaking, are good for investors, right? If you look at Intel, if you owned Intel, I'm pretty sure you got a bit of Mobileye, and both of those sucked because they're Intel. But if you go back, what was it? The railroads were first. That's the first time I think the monopoly laws were put in place, which meant you got to split up the railroads. You got to shoot all that, and they did. And if you had owned any of the railroads before that, you made a bunch of money. And then I think the next big one was the telecoms, because if you owned AT&T, I don't know how far back you can go, but right, if you owned AT&T, they split up the company, and then so AT&T didn't move too much, but then you got a little bit of Verizon, you got a whole bunch of these different telecom companies, and a lot of them kind of start merging again and buying each other out, but end up being an insanely awesome investment. And then GE is the other one, where GE did nothing for ages, and then all of a sudden it spun off a bunch of its companies, and not only is GEHC, GE Healthcare been doing okay, not amazingly, right? You would have got it spun off at this price, so you'd be up a little bit from it. But you got GE Aerospace, you got GE, right? All of these different GEs, and they've been working. And then you got this guy that's finally been working as well. So, yeah, GEV. So, yeah, it's one of those. It's people fight it tooth and nail because they just don't like government intervention, which, as a pretty staunch capitalist, I agree with. However, generally ends up being a good thing for right, whether you want it or not. History shows anyway that spin-offs are a good thing. So there's the SPY just dropping, hitting new lows of the day. So it looks like whatever has happened, we're gonna take a little bit of a pop here, a little bit of a drop. Now let's take a look at good hold up in the small caps, and the Qs did that drop there as well. Again, we got to look at, it's one of those, if you looked at just like say a line chart, you look at it and say, oh, well, yeah, it was down a little bit on Monday, but it wasn't that, or Tuesday, it wasn't that big of a deal. This is why we all use candlesticks or bar charts, because we gapped down pretty big and then just ripped all day. So from this range, or from the low to the high, to yes, the futures contract. So from the low to the close was like 1.5% yesterday. And then from, that was neither 1.5% down. So we went 1.5% down. Then we went 1.5% back up. It's a pretty big move. It's a pretty dramatic move there. So a rest day or a couple rest days doesn't really shock us. It's kind of like when we had this day for JPOW, I said, hey man, it kind of makes sense that we are going to be inside this candle for a while. And we spent 1, 2, 3, and then the fourth candle we broke out of. Now that we're here, it could be just the same thing where we are now inside this candle for a while, and then we need a couple days to go by, and then we push out, right? I think the stratters, the guys who trade the strat, there's a whole group there. They call it the mother bar, and you hang out inside the mother bar for a while. And it's pretty common, right? When we had this massive down day, we spent 3-4 days inside that range. You can go look at really wide range days, and sometimes you get continuation the next day. But if you don't, quite often you see this kind of sideways kind of junk where you hang out inside that range. So it wouldn't surprise me. Now we can go look and see what we've got. Nothing today. So we had factory orders at the same time. We had that. FOMC, beige book, none of this matters. Tomorrow we have ISM services PMI. I think we already had the goods PMI. So between goods and services, this is our way to get inflation. Williams and Goolsby. I think was Williams one of the ones that was. No, he's not in the top 3 anyway. And neither is Goolsby. And then Friday, look at what's happening Friday. Non-farm, unemployment. Like, these are the big guys. Because for those who don't know, it's, I guess, good to explain. If you don't know why we care so much about jobs numbers, is because in theory, the Fed's only supposed to care about 2 things. Now, that might be over if it gets more politicized and things like that. That's conversations for another day. But in theory, the Fed is supposed to care about employment and it's supposed to care about inflation. And those 2 things. It's meant to keep inflation down at a reasonable level with the one tool they really have, which is interest rates. And then it's supposed to keep employment up. So for the Fed to do anything, we need to either see inflation drop and employment drop, or we need to see inflation rise and employment rise. Those are the easiest things for the Fed to deal with, because if employment is high and inflation is high, they can crank rates. And if inflation is low and unemployment is low, they can lower rates. Where they get screwed is if, right, inflation and unemployment are both in that kind of area. So if you have inflation up and employment down, or vice versa, then what do? And if they lower rates with inflation up and employment down, they'll raise the inflation and raise the unemployment, or raise the employment, which net might be better, might be worse, but these are just harder questions to potentially answer. And then vice versa, if everybody is employed with a very low inflation rate, well, if they lower rates, it doesn't, right? People can't get more employed if you're already at or near full employment, and then inflation spikes. So people aren't able to make more money and everything costs more. So they don't want to do that either. So again, it becomes a problem that I'm happy that I don't have to deal with. Plus, I think a lot of people give too much stake in what the Fed can and cannot do. They expect this inflation magic wand they have to do more than I think it should. It just doesn't make sense that these guys can wave an interest rate thing and then go. Like we saw with the inflation after COVID, it wasn't really their interest rate changes that did anything. It was just more of there was COVID, supply shocks, things like that. They have to work their way through the system. They can't just kind of happen, right? So as I'm yapping here, we're bouncing again. This is just crazy action. Let's just do 1 minute just to show. Right, so in the last 4 minutes of that rant, we had a push down to new lows again, and then we're right back up to this zone. So it's just been a wild, wild, wild day. So we have done nothing, but we've done nothing in an incredibly volatile way, which is why I think Mitch was very right to focus on these small caps, and right, hopefully he's finding a little bit of a niche there. I'm still sitting on hands. I missed my Tesla trade entirely. I was focused on Macy's, which is just horrible of me, but I wanted just to buy it through VWAP with a stop at the low of the day. So thank you all, or you're welcome to when Teslas or TSLs at like $15 today. But nice push up when it came down. It held VWAP, so that would have been another chance to potentially take it. Just taking a look, my swings aren't really doing much. Nothing here is really doing much of anything. Let's take a look. EW, HLT, Hilton. Yeah, wild. SPY hitting new highs right there as well. NVIDIA. That's wild. NVIDIA did 40 million shares today. And TSLL, not Tesla, the leverage version of Tesla, did 35 million today. I don't know if these are like, it feels like I'm going to be reading something later about how a lot of these single stock ETFs blew up stuff, but I just don't know how that could happen. Like it just feels bad, but I don't think it's actually going to be bad. Like intellectually, it seems like it's okay, but it feels bad. It's like people saying that they're complaining that there's more ETFs right now than there is individual stocks. I think that happened last week, where there's technically now more ETFs out there than stocks, which is nuts. It's wild. I don't know how it's a bad thing though, because these aren't indexes, right? These aren't index ETFs. These are right single stock ETFs. They're leverage ETFs. They're thematic ETFs. Like right, you guys know I love and own a whole bunch of this NLR for like my long term, can't touch the money in 25 years account, just because I think nuclear is going to be the way that we power the world in the future. Solar and everything is great. Maybe we invent batteries that we can hold the power, but nuclear, if done right, seems to tick all the boxes for what we need, which is constant power that we can really scale up, that if done right is incredibly green, renewable, all that stuff. Yeah, so but this isn't an index. This just holds a whole bunch of this is thematic, right? So it holds a whole bunch of nuclear. So now that we've gotten to that point, there we go, kicked them out. Now this is a little bit misleading, right? TSLL 36 million and Tesla 41 million, but do that from a dollar volume standpoint, right? This is why one of the things people ask me all about how I do liquidity for my system, especially when they look at things like MLYS, which is just rock. Like this has been an amazing trade. Let's look at two things here. So let's go volume and then dollar volume. Dollar volume, I think it's a great thing to look at, and I think is kind of more important than even regular volume. So dollar volume is just straight up the amount of money. So volume is the amount of shares, and dollar volume is a amount of money. So there is in this yesterday, $15 million went through, and that equated to. Can I move to new pane below? That worked out to about 15 million shares. That can't be right. Yeah, that ain't right. Oh, $1.2 million in volume. I don't know how that's working, but essentially, dollar volume is the amount of money that has flown through a stock, and volume is the amount of shares. So if you look at this, right, TSLL and Tesla have done about the same. You could just say rounding, has done about the same share volume. But if you look at TSLL, it's worth $12, and TSLA is worth $355. So it would mean that Tesla, the amount of money that has flown through it, is still way more substantial, even though the amount of shares that have flown through it are about the same. And this is, for me, again, when I'm looking at liquidity, I am very much looking at dollar volume, because for me, that's the most important potential indication, right, is dollar volume, just to say, hey, this is the amount of money that is flown through the thing. More being better if you're looking for liquidity, that type of thing. So the SPY is grinding back up here, potentially hitting highs. We have IWM trying to break out of this little base. I have just killed my Macy's right there. It's just not. I'm not. I'm not doing it. Look at this thing, just not doing it. Little triggered in, and then just spent like the next like 5 candles above VWAP. So I just said enough. Just said I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I don't have to do that, so I'm not doing it. Let's look at some of these high flyers. Ooh, right back down on that IPND. Is it AIHS? That one's still rallying. Damn. Almost closed the gap after this. So this is a reverse split. So probably gap down well under $1. Spent a lot of time there. And then pop. These are the kind of things that make me like super tempted to start like nailing into a short on something like this. This is nuts. I don't have a system for them, but that is something that I'm actually working really, really hard to do, is to develop a system to short these crazy ones. I just know so many discretionary traders and non-discretionary traders trade these things so well, specifically from the short side, and they do great. So I just want to be able to systematize it, because I know that I can't manually trade anything. I'm just not good at that side of things. And then there was STI. That chain traded. Yeah, that looks like it broke down that little base. It's continuing to the low side there. AIHS. So let's just, if I were to trade it, I'd probably be shorting it here, just because we had this kind of, that's the rug pull. That might be the end of the move. We tried to rally above that, and then we failed pretty hard. So I'd probably look to short here with a stop at like the high of the day, just because it's gotta, you would imagine, if it's going to go pretty quickly. TSLL, pop there. Yeah, missed that one. Don't make me too mad about it. It's again, the idea was sound, and this is, we can talk all about this. We could actually do some testing live here, because it's my show now. I'm the only one here. I can do whatever I want. But the idea I'm looking for is, I want strong stocks, right? I don't want stocks that are completely kind of falling apart. So above like a recent prior low or below a recent prior high. And then I just want to look. So I think this is a perfect example. Zoom in. Some people like candles better. Let me actually body black and green, and I like this unicolor stuff, man. I know some people don't, but I really think red and green candles can like program you wrong. But so like here, for example, you've got 1, 2, 3, let's say 4. So I'm going to measure these with higher lows, right? So this low is higher than this one, which is higher than this one, which is higher than this one, which is higher than this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days up. And the idea is you look to see if there's any significance after like 5 days up or 5 days down. If you short the low of this candle with the stop at the high of that candle, and then close at the end of the day. So that trade would have been good. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a breakout here as well. Again, there's no magic behind any of this thing. I think it will probably have roughly a 50-50 win rate. The question is, over the long run, does that end up making any money? Right? If you do this thing, and that's everything that I look to do, like this MLYS. So far, all of the shorts are working. I took a loss on Macy when I exited it. And it's probably going to tank now because I did, but it just, These are meant to be kind of quick flush trades, and that didn't happen. We had to push through. But if we took it like MLYS, and on MLYS, the idea here was pretty simple, is that this candle was significantly significant, like statistically, significant. So you had an unusually large, not even including the gap. This is just simply open to close, right? This range right here, from open to close, it was 27%. So I've just been able to test that over time, if you have a significantly wide range bar, and then the next bar, you get a little bit of an ATR extension from that, but 54% of the time, it will close lower than that price. So that's the trade. And I take tons. I'm trying to add on more and more trades, because in a perfect world, I want to be taking 20 trades a day, plus with very, very small risk across these long, short kind of strategies, long, short potential ideas, right? And not getting fancy with it at all, just finding a slight weird thing that you can take a little bit of an edge off of, that makes up for fees and commissions and slippage and all of that, and then you just roll the dice on that small edge over and over and over again. And you'll notice that's way different than most people trade, where most people are trying to really predict what happens in XYZ crazy name, and that's how they make their money. If XYZ crazy name does great, then they make a bunch of money. If it does poorly, they lose money. Also, the reason why I think it works is because it's not what most people do. The SPY here is grinding higher. We're making new highs as we get through this zone. So we have this nice tight consolidation. It looks like we're potentially breaking out of that to a little bit of a push higher, a little bit of a move higher. That looks great from that side of things, but we are still inside this range. So right here is the low of the pre-markets range, and right here is the high of the post-market range, and just stuck. So not something. This isn't the day. Right? You got some good opening range moves on some of these momentum style plays. It feels like the oxygen's just getting sucked out of the room, where there's just really nothing happening. The fact that my shorts, right, I'm short everything. The only one that's not paying right now is ARWR, but the other three are doing pretty good. That just makes me think that we are just in this scenario that it was the right move to do mean reversion, to right, buy stocks that are up, sell stocks that are down, that type of thing. That was the right thing to do. Now, whether that continues all day, who knows? But we have nothing scheduled, and I don't think we have any potential Trump talks either. So that's kind of what we would need in order to have something that really shakes up the current environment. Otherwise, some reports tomorrow, some reports the next day, that type of thing, right? Yeah. Interesting. U. Oh, the 3 U's, not the 4 U's, up another 10%. Yeah. See, this is why. So the particular strategy I want needs. So I want to start playing with Kevin's potential hangover play, and we talked about this a lot. So what I've started to do is I've started to model out candles like this. Like, what is a topping tail mathematically? Like, what is a topping tail? And then, is there any idea? Because this makes me want to potentially short this name. The fact that they had the big buzzkill sell come in at the end of yesterday, and now it's struggling in that range. It's technically up 10%, but it's still within inside the body of this candle. I would imagine this is kind of what Kevin would be looking for this hangover play. I'm, again, very, very interested. So I guess anyone can reach out to me, right? I'm just Michael Noss on Twitter, Substack, Instagram, TikTok, right? All the things out there. If you have a strategy that is working very well shorting these type of crazy names, let me know, right? Send me some examples, because that's the big step is come up with the idea, see if you can systematize it, model it out, back test it. If you can, you add it to anything else. And I bet you there'd be times that this kind of like shorting these low float stuff would do amazing. So what was it? Mitch was trading this IPDN, and I think he made money from this from the long side. But man, it's halted. I think it's halted to the downside here. The yeah, definitely halted. So this is kind of fascinating to me, because when I see something like this, it just makes me think that this thing's going to do this all day, just, and I'm there for it. I'm totally cool with that if it wants to just tank like this all day long. Because the psychology, when Kevin was explaining the psychology behind this kind of hangover setup, just makes perfect sense. And that's, to me, that's a big one. That's the first thing that clicked. Like when someone says, oh, I've back tested, the a 33.5 moving average crossing an 89 moving average, and there's some edge there. Like, okay, good. Congratulations, right? Maybe trade it, maybe watch it, do whatever. For me, it's more about, I want to really, I want to understand why the thing would work. Because my podcast co-host, who's also a systematic trader, just words it really well. He calls it his path to confidence. He's like, okay, what is, there's going to be dark times in your trading. It will happen. There will be periods of time where things just don't work, where things just aren't clicking. If you have an unrealistic world where you have a 90% win rate strategy, there will be times where you're going to take multiple losses in a row. I actually have a whole video about this, about how you can look at the win rate versus losses in a row. Is this one from? Yeah, this is a good one. Blah, blah, blah. So these are losing streaks here. So say you got a 50% win rate. You are very much expected to have 7 losses in a world. At every 100 trades, you're going to have 7 losses in a row. Every, I think this is right. Number of bets, expected win rate. Yeah. 250, you'll have not 8. 500, you'll have 9. So let's say even you have a 75% win rate, you're still going to have 3, 4, 5, 6 losses in a row pretty commonly. So the idea is, when those are happening, when the dark periods are occurring, you have to have the confidence that your strategy is going to carry you through. Whether it's your discretionary, whether you're systematic, whatever, you have to develop that confidence. So for me, a lot of it is just a massive backtest, like 25 years worth of data, and combing through that data and saying, yeah, a losing month is going to happen. 2 losing months is going to happen. Sometimes 3 losing months are going to happen. That's okay. Just keep going. That helps. The other thing is knowing exactly one of those things, which of these strategies, and that these strategies make sense, that they are not working because I've just crammed a bunch of numbers together. They work because of some psychological thing, which again, one of the reasons why I really love Kevin's hangover trades is that it makes sense to me, And then also, it makes sense that the it could work, right? So it could mathematically work, and if it mathematically works, it makes perfect sense psychologically. And I think once you kind of merge those two things, you have that path to confidence. And that just allows you to not do dumb things when you're in a drawdown, which I bet you if you go through your trading history, the the idea is that you're able to stick with a method, because most people, in a lot of cases, you'll see their equity curve go up, and when they go up, they're able to be really, really disciplined and do what it is what they should. And then the first down tick in their equity curve, everything falls apart. Right? They start jumping to new strategies. They start, moving all over the place. They start doing stuff that they shouldn't. They start being really, really dumb, and meh. IPDN is bouncing here. Wow, this is crazy. What was the other one he was trading? IHS. That's starting to pull back just a little bit. So my imaginary short would have been, right here. That would have worked. MLYS, LYS. This thing's continuing to kind of sell down here. Got to the 2-day VWAP. These aren't in my back test for targets, but it's something I'm going to try. Is if we get to the 2-day VWAP, we just we take our profits there, and then just compare those results. The beauty of a lot of what I do is because I'm trading these things in a trade the pool account, and then I'm also trading them in my personal account. My plan is to use the trade the pool account for like an experimentation. So I want to experiment taking, so in this case, I should have taken MLYS. I should have taken this off when it got down to the 2-day VWAP here, right? And I would have, so far, it's bounced 5% ever since it's got there. And then what I'll do is I'll be able to track them, right? So, I know in programming terms, they call it a bake-off, where you want to have, right, these strategies. And I know a lot of people will do this just by opening up a paper account and a live account. And again, I always say, take a eval, I think it's $50. You can see above my head here, for an eval as opposed to a paper trading account. Because if your strategy, you nail it, great. You've got someone else's money to play with, and run that experiment where, because I'm not entering the trades myself, there's really no added work to doing something like this, where I could very easily say, okay, I want to try what happens if I take profits at the 2-day VWAP, and what happens if I don't? What happens if I leave them? Then you fast forward a couple months, and you just compare the two. What I would imagine is, obviously, the taking the profits early would have a crank up the win rate, but how much do I lose in the potential overall profit? Like, how often does it hit the 2-day VWAP and then just sell off significantly from there? I don't know. Appreciate the education. No problem, Sid. I could sit here and rant all day. Again, I'm an old man. I've been in this game for a while, so I've got a lot of this. And I approach the market differently than most, and I think that helps, is that there's so many people that will tell you about, low float kind of momentum names, and that's great. And they get a good feel, and they trade for them for a while, and some of them make a buttload of money by doing so pretty quickly. But what I've noticed is that longevity in this game comes down to really, really honing in on a system and diving into that system really, really deeply. And that's more of where my focus is, because I know there'll be some times that I'll probably be doing great, sometimes I'll probably be doing awful. But what I want to do is I want to be able to build multiple systems across multiple assets, utilizing prop firms to help as like a kicker. Right? So if I have, I trade with a big account of my own account, but if I threw another 200K at that for day trading, the amount of percentage gain that you would need in order for it to be meaningful shrinks, right, dramatically, right? So yeah, TQQQ pop. Let's do a little around the horn for the markets. The Qs continue to grind higher. I've been watching them here. The SPY continues to grind higher, putting in maybe a little bit of a topping tail here. We take a look at the IWM. It's just been flat. So we've seen the rotation like twice today. We saw the IWM rip and then kind of come back down. While if you look at the Qs sold off and then ripped back up. So they're diverged in all aspects. And this is because of the positioning data that I've been smashing my forehead over and over and over again. The idea is that if they're short the IWM and they are long the Qs, they've been wrong. So they have to unwind that. What's really helping the Qs, I think we need to take a look at Google with holding its gains really nicely, up now 8% off that move. We know that Tesla, massive move on Tesla. Oh man, I'm salty, guys. Salty. Where's the VWAP? What are we? Yeah, so if I took that breakthrough VWAP, that's like 5%. On something like Tesla, right? Tesla's a big one. Yeah, it's annoying. And it wasn't that I didn't take it because I didn't like it. I just wasn't paying attention. This is part of the problem is that I try to take a discretionary trade a day, but there's a lot to focus on. This is why I totally feel Mitch as a discretionary trader. Always, he's like, "Oh, I missed this. I missed this. I missed this." My bot doesn't miss anything, but I certainly can. So I want to. That's why I systematize as much as possible. And this is the next system that I want to look for. I want to look for what happens if we sell off in the morning, we hit the 2-day VWAP, and then we get back through VWAP for the day. Because by definition, you're pulling back into yesterday's range, and then you're moving. Might be a little bit of a trade to take there as well. All right, let's take a look here. Let's sort some sectors. Let's see what's going on. On the sector side of things, we have PSIL up 1%. Again, totally talking my book here, but I did buy a lot more here as we kind of held above anchored VWAP here for a while. So this is the anchored VWAP from all-time highs on PSIL. Psychedelics ETF, really think the sector could really, really light up as things get closer to FDA approval. I also have a bunch of MindMed from like the $5 area. Right, I've been trading around this. Every time it gets up to around 10, I've been selling. It comes back into 5 and buying and so on. It's been working amazingly, but really I'm looking for this thing to get into like 50. Would be great. Would not complain there. Again, just looking for potential buyouts in that one. ARK is doing great today. So nice little push up. ARK has actually filled the gap from the long weekend. It's very interesting. The largest wealth destroyer of all time is kind of coming back here. There's a basket of internet related stocks. We have communications. We got biotechs making new highs. That could be one of those reasons that we're getting a big push in the IWM. Right, the IWM is going to be mostly biotechs and small banks. Gold miners continue, just nuts. Right? My silver trade is working out great. Obviously, I wish I had more, But yeah, we go to like a weekly chart. Silver has just been on fire. I forget where I got in. I think it was somewhere I need to check. I think it was like 26s to 28s. Huge move there in silver, lithium up. So we're getting a lot of metals, things like that. Across the world, shout out South Korea. It's having a great day. Down into the crypto space. Sheep with hat, nice 6% there on sheep with hat for you sheep with hat holders. God, what's the world? Just a lot of moves across the board, right? Ethereum, I'm really interested in this Ethereum breakout. It's been very, very tight range there on Ethereum. And a nice solid breakout today. A lot of trend line breaks throughout. And if you look at Bitcoin, right, this trend line break happened yesterday. If you look at Solana, its trend line broke a while ago. And then we got to look at the granddaddy, the one meme coin to rule them all. Farcoin hasn't quite done that trend line break. That'd be like 85 cents, give or take. Just seeing a lot of strength, a lot of continuation in these names. And obviously what we want to see in those names is these trend lines breaking doesn't mean things are going to rip to new all-time highs, but it's a good start, right? When you see a downtrend line break, that to me is potentially the start of a new trend higher. And the fact that we're not really seeing that too much in Bitcoin being the weakest, if we just measure right this distance, but Ethereum doing much better. And then we have Solana holding up stronger still. Just shows me that this rotation could continue. Would not surprise me if we end up seeing, just a giant rotation. We're seeing it in the equity market. Why not see it in the equity market and in the crypto markets? Where in the equity market we're seeing the little guys take the lead, but why not then also see in the crypto market the little guys take the lead? Right? It would not surprise me, right? You have the across the board. It's also, I think, a risk appetite thing. You're going to be more interested in buying the SPY or the Qs or something if your risk appetite is super high. And then same as if your super risk appetite's low. And same with this buddy of mine who's a big crypto guy was telling me just to pay attention to the Bitcoin Ethereum ratio. Ethereum Bitcoin ratio. So this is Ethereum priced in Bitcoin, saying as long as this is pushing higher, people in the crypto space are really, really risk on because they're just feeling, hey, I'm okay with owning Ethereum over Bitcoin. I listened to an interesting podcast with Tom Lee there on the weekend, who's been this Rando's mom, the BMNR. He's this guy, as well as just a very reputable, very well-known, very spot on the money trader and investor. He's done really great considering that he's been kind of mocked relentlessly because the dude's just so bullish. But, being right is being right. He was saying that he thinks it's very possible that Ethereum could flip Bitcoin in market cap, which I know is like that's a really sensitive topic for a lot of the Bitcoin guys out there. They don't want to hear that. He just thinks that with a lot of the things that Ethereum can do, that over time, it's going to just be a more valuable chain, and that Bitcoin will hold the gold, the Bitcoin gold type of thing, and that Ethereum is gonna flip that. So who knows? I'm not smart enough to know whether he's right or not. I just know that right now, Ethereum is dramatically outperforming Bitcoin, and you don't need to be a CMT to see that. You just grab your line chart. And you say, well, through all this period of time, Bitcoin was beating Ethereum. Through all this period of time, Ethereum is beating Bitcoin. These things flip back and forth all the time. Right. Well, yeah, and that was his point. Ethereum is more of a utility asset. That was exactly his point, is that he just thinks they will serve different roles, right? That they will just, you will have your Ethereum is for your contracts, for some stable coins, some things like that. And then your Bitcoin is for the digital gold. So what will happen over time, just like I talked about in the kind of equity space, is that when you have some sort of dramatic sell-off in the world, or some sort of risk event happening in the world, people will flock to Bitcoin because of the safety, the inability to modify it, the inflation hedge, all that stuff that we know about Bitcoin. And that when people are feeling a little bit more risky and innovative and things like that, they will do the opposite. They'll float over to the Ethereum side of things. And that's what we're seeing, right? The IWM rip compared to the SPY. So it makes sense that we're seeing Ethereum do well relative to Bitcoin. BTC USD. Okay, it's a nice little push there. Then there's Litecoin that exists. All right, do another up 1% now on the Qs. Officially closed. This was that scary, I keep trying to say Monday gap because this week's just got me so screwed up. But the Tuesday gap, we've completely erased that. So I'm going to make the same jokes. I'm sorry if you follow me on Twitter. I'm going to make the same jokes that I made here. It's like, did you survive the bear market of 1.5% pullback over 3 days? Those same jokes we'll be making here. The SPY is getting close to filling that gap, and then the IWM filled that gap and then just backed off a little bit. And the reason I'm anchoring to this is because, again, for relative strength, relative weakness, you have to anchor to a specific point. And I think that gap down is a very logical place to potentially anchor to, because if you're below that, then that means whatever, I don't even know what happened, whatever happened here that got people scared is still a fear. And if you're above that, it means they don't care about whatever that event is as well, right? So, yeah, attacks into Ripple, into the rip. Before I left Trade Ideas, I knew there's a guy who was big into Ripple and Trade Ideas. I wonder if he held in. That would have been kind of in through here. Hopefully he held in. I think he was big into Ripple. Yeah, the coin cannot be... Yeah, I heard that, right? For stable coins, the coin can't be held by insiders. So they'll have to spin it off, or they'll have to, perfect world, burn it. I know they won't. They'll want to sell. Whoever owns the insider, they'll have to sell those as well. So yeah, that would eliminate Tether. Tether is kind of, I remember watching like a CoffeeZilla video a while ago on Tether about how it was a little shady. How, they said that they had everything backed in cash, but then when you looked into it, they had a lot of things backed in like Chinese real estate kind of paper. That was a little bit worried as well, right? Oh, Shabbat. Rebel at 27 cents Canadian. Man, good. Good work, man. All right, we are wrapping up here. So all I'll say is that, right, yes, we're moving and we're grinding higher. Now that we're filling the gap on these, I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be the move. I'm certainly not going to be buying up here. I'm glad that my shorts are actually holding on okay, even though the market's ripping. I don't expect anything wild, and we got to remember that we have huge numbers on Friday and a little bit tomorrow. So we could have the move that happens because of some event and then a choppy afternoon. And that's exactly really what we saw yesterday. Is we had, right, yesterday morning, a buy, and then just kind of chopped around. And then we started to grind higher. I think after Trump spoke, that was really the big move. So let's see what happens there. But certainly right? Find all the people that you follow on Twitter that right here were telling you it was the end of the bull market, and then also said right here was the end of the bull market, and just unfollow them and do yourself a huge favor and just move on. You don't need these people in your lives because with the market at all-time highs there. All right, guys, appreciate everyone for stopping by. And as always, we'll be on tomorrow. I know Kevin and Josh will be joining us tomorrow as well, and they'll be extending it a little bit later. So definitely hang out, and I'll talk to you guys then.